pieces of mahogany here, and we're going to use these for the bodies. Now, as you can see, it's rough sawn, and that's generally the way I buy my timber. I've got the tools to be able to thickness it down to what I need. Alright, now we finished those off through the drum sander, and that was just to perfectly level out the top and also to take it down to thickness. Now, a drum sander, it's a bit of a luxury item, it's not something that you need, but you know, I've got it sitting there, so I might as well use it for, it just prepares the surface here nice and flat, and it's basically ready. I'm going to give it a quick sand, and that's just to take out, you get these lines, very fine lines from the heavy grit on the roller. So I'm just going to smooth both surfaces out on both of the blanks, and then we're ready to trace or put a centre line down and then trace the body profile. Now, there's some little imperfections in the wood. I'm not worried about that because these are going to be solid colour guitars. I'd be a little more choosy if I was doing a transparent finish, but I'm not that worried about these. Some of those are going to be cut out anyway, and certainly they're not going to be an issue to the guitar when it's finished. Alright, so just taking that extra couple of minutes to prepare the blank now, it's going to save us a lot of hassles potentially further on down the track when it comes time for you know, for finishing. Everything we know is going to be dead flat. Okay, you might remember I drew the plans up in a program called Inkscape. What I did was I exported the body shape as a DXF file, and I sent it down and I had it CNC cut onto some MDF. So we've got the template ready to go. So the bodies are routed and I've sanded the sides, and we're ready to put the round over on now. Alright, so I just thought I'd show you some of the different round over bits. Now there's a multitude of round over bits available, different sizes, different radiuses. That's the sort of radius I'd use on a Stratocaster. And you've got a tighter radius there, and even tighter still. This is 3/16 of an inch. And that's what we're going to use to round over the edges of the body. Alright, so we've got the round over on, and one body has got a round over on both sides. The other body has just got the round over on the back, and the reason for that is we're going to put some binding around the top of the guitar, and before we can do that I need to put an arm contour in. So just going to take a bit of material off here, and then we're going to bind all of that. what I like to do is just I mark all this and I sand it until I've got it flat. This is like 40 grit, so it cuts pretty quickly. Once I get that flat, then I start angling, I start blending this edge here into the rest of the body there. So I just start working that until I get a nice, just a nice blend down and get rid of that sharp edge that's across there. Alright, so the body's been routed. We've got a channel all the way around for us to put the binding in now. And I tried to film me routing the binding, but unfortunately I filmed my back for most of it, so sorry about that. There's not much I can do now. It's not as if you can stop while you're routing this. You've just got to get it done. So anyway, it's done, and we can move on and start binding now. Alright, so it's time to bind the body. And we're just going to use super glue this time, just medium super glue. Just be careful not to stick your fingers together. Now, the reason I'm using super glue this time is because the binding's a little bit thicker. It's just a better choice when you've got thicker binding. So I'm just going to make some binding paste up now, and I've just cut some scrap binding that was left over. I'm just going to pour in a bit of acetone. Over a period of time, this acetone will break the ABS binding down, and it'll turn into a paste. And then we can use that paste to fill any gaps in the binding. Once we take the tape off, there's bound to be some little gaps here and there that we need to fill in. So this will be like a white paste that we can just push into those gaps. Once it's sanded, you won't even see it. So it's a pretty simple job just to get rid of all of those glue marks. We just use a scraper. We just keep scraping until they've all disappeared. Alright, so that's after a couple of hours, and you can see we've got a white paste now. It's just melted ABS binding, acetone, so we can use that as a filler. So this is a close-up of what I was talking about. We've got just a bit of separation there where it hasn't glued properly against the wood, so we can use our filler for that. We want the neck to join on what would be the 23rd fret, so we need to cut this neck in at a 3.3 degree angle. That will give us a nice action when it's all set up with the strings not too far off the fretboard. So to cut a angled neck pocket, the easiest way to do it is to either prop your template up on an angle, make some shims and shim it up, or you can make a jig, and I've got a jig that I use, and I'll show you that now. Okay, so this is the jig we use, and we've just got some toggle clamps, and they just clamp down onto the body so it doesn't move, and we have a center line which is scribed right the way through, and then we've got a couple of rails, and they're adjustable either end, and we have just some measurements on either side, and I have some wooden shims that I use. Now depending on the neck angle, we need to be able to adjust these up and down to get the neck angle we want. So in this case, I've just got a little shim, just sits up there, and I've got some little shims here too, which will give us the angle we need, 3.3 degrees to route this neck pocket. Alright, so what we do is we align the centre lines on the body to the centre lines on the jig. So that's aligned there, and that's aligned at the back. And we just clamp it down. Alright, so that's not going anywhere. I've also marked a line on the body here, and what that is the distance from here to here, and that's where I want the neck to join the body, right on what would be the 23rd fret. So we line that up where we want it to actually sit, and then we mark a line there. Now we can clamp those bits of wood against our neck. We're just going to clamp on there. Just clamp those rails to the side of the body, or to the side of the neck I should say. So I'm just using the measurements on the side here to make sure we've got the neck centered here and we've got the neck centered up there, and then I know the neck is nice and straight. Okay, that's looking pretty good on the front here. We're pretty much spot on there, and we're spot on at the back there. So at that point we clamp everything down. Remove the clamp and pop the neck out. So I'm just going to stick a piece of veneer each side where the bearing is going to contact, so that will give us a tighter fit than the actual neck, and we can sand the neck to fit. It's just a better idea than routing a loose neck pocket. I'd rather have it too tight and then sand the neck to fit than just have it moving around in a loose pocket. The last thing we need to do is work out where to place a bit of wood at the back there. The idea being that you're routing the neck pocket, this will contact that and right across there, which will give us a straight line here, and it will form the back of the neck pocket. But obviously we need to set this in such a place where we don't cut too far. I've got a mark there that I put on earlier. That is where I want the cut to finish. So obviously I need to measure the distance from the end of the cut here to the end of my router base, which is 76mm. So I need to place this 76mm past the line here, and that will give me a cut across there. So that's the back of the jig. You can see I've got the rails aligned on the sides there. We've got the centre line on the jig. Okay, so it's about 5 or 6 passes and we've gone full depth now. So we can take the body out of the jig and we can start sizing the neck to fit. Okay, so both neck pockets have been done, and it's just a matter now of just sanding both sides until we can get the neck pocket to slide in. Not a lot of wood needs to be taken off, but we'll go slowly and we'll make sure we get a good fit on both of them. Alright, so you can see where I've been sanding both sides of the neck here. Just been using a wooden block with 120. Do the 10 passes that side, then 10 passes that side, and then I do a test fit, and then I continue on. Even amount each side, so we're removing the same amount of wood from each side, and also remembering to continue this round over here, and eventually you'll get to the point where the neck will go in with a bit of force. So you can actually pick the body up with that, which is always a good sign that you've got a nice tight joint. So it's a good opportunity now to check the neck angle and make sure everything is the way it should be. The scale on this guitar is 24.563. So I've measured down 24.5. I'll just put a mark there, and that's going to be roughly, our bridge is going to be centered over that line, roughly. Now also, these are the studs that the bridge mounts on. So they mount like that. So there's this thickness here, which is about 2 mil that we need to account for under this bridge as well. So I'm just going to get a piece of wood that's 2 mil thick, and we're just going to shim that up so we can simulate where the bridge would be in its lowest position. Okay, so we've got a shim. We've got a shim that's sized the same as the stud, the thickness of the section there that sits on the body. So we can place the bridge roughly where it's going to be. It's pretty close. I mean, it's probably a couple of mil off, but that's not going to make any difference for what we want to do now. And we'll put a temporary nut in as well. Now we'll use a straight edge. We'll just run it along the middle of the guitar there. And what we're looking for is the angle that the strings are going to take. Now that's looking really good, because what we have in our lowest position that the bridge will be, which is where it is now without any adjustment upwards, we have the strings almost bottoming out just here. So all of the useful adjustment, the upwards adjustment, is going to allow us to dial the string action in. So that's just where we want it to be. So the neck angle is very accurate, 3.3 degrees. That's what we've routed in there, and that's going to work really well.